Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Pulp Crazy. I'm your host, Jason Aiken. I hope everyone had a nice holiday season, and the new year has been a pleasant experience for everyone so far. I'm going to ring in the first episode of 2016 with a classic collection of sword and sorcery tales, Swords and Deviltry. The first book in Fritz Leiber's Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser series. This collection could be referred to as an origin collection, as we see what Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser were doing before they joined forces that fateful night in Lankhmar, as well as their first team-up. Swords and Deviltry is comprised of one short piece that serves as an introduction of sorts, in 3 novellas. Now, I should specify, I listened to the Audible audiobook of Swords and Deviltry, which I highly recommend. It's read by Jonathan Davis, who does wonderful voice work, especially his voices for Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser. The Audible edition also has a nice bonus introduction, read by Neil Gaiman. If audiobooks aren't your thing, Swords and Deviltry is also available as an ebook from Amazon. As a matter of fact, all of the Fafhrd and Grey Mouser books are available on Audible and Kindle right now, and some of them are even on sale. You can get the Kindle edition of Swords and Deviltry for $7.99 right now, but watch for that. That usually goes on sale at some point. And the audiobook of Swords and Deviltry is currently on sale. It's just $1.99, which is a heck of a deal. I also heard talk that Centipede Press is interested in putting out a nice deluxe set of the series with a sizable amount of bonus material. After seeing how well their collection of Carl Edward Wagner's Kane books turned out, I'd buy their Fafhrd and Grey Mouser set in a heartbeat, even though I already own the whole series in audiobooks and Kindle. Now, you might notice that the Fafhrd and Grey Mouser series is arranged in internal series chronological order, and not the date of publication. Some of the Fafhrd and Grey Mouser stories appeared in Pulp magazines. Some appeared in Digest magazine, and others appeared in book form. And also, besides being called the Fafhrd and Grey Mouser series, they are also referred to as the Sword series, due to the word swords being in the title of all the collections. The collections are Swords and Deviltry, Swords Against Death, Swords in the Mist, Swords Against Wizardry, The Swords of Lankhmar, Swords and Ice Magic, and The Knight and Knave of Swords. There is also an 8th book, written by Robin Wayne Bailey, titled Swords Against the Shadowland. I hope to cover all of the Leiber collections in future episodes, but for now, let's talk Swords and Deviltry. The Induction first appeared in Two Sought Adventure, which was an early Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser collection put out by Gnome Press. It gives a short introduction to the ancient world of Nuwan, which is an anagram for know when. It mentions its cities and lands, including Lankhmar, which is its most famous. It also mentions how Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser are dimly aware that they are each fragments of a greater hero, which I think is a really neat concept. As a matter of fact, I saw a comment from a YouTuber named Nemo9Zyphos, who said he wrote to Leiber, and Leiber told him he intended the hero to be called the Growler, and wanted to write a story featuring him. Evidently, the Growler is mentioned in later stories, So I'm looking forward to see what that's all about. I'll put a link to that video where Nemo9Zyphos made that comment in the show notes, as it's a cool interview with Leiber at a past NorWestCon where he was the guest of honor. Now for the novellas in the collection. The first novella is The Snow Women. It first appeared in the April 1970 issue of Fantastic. This came in second place in the Best Short Fiction category at the 1971 Locus Awards. It was also nominated, but withdrawn from consideration for the 1971 Hugo Awards in the category of Best Novella. But more on that situation later. It's nothing negative or nefarious, though. The Snow Women is basically Fafhrd's origin story, about his final days living in Cold Corner in the Northern Wastes. I found The Snow Women to be an interesting story, and it was a great introduction to Fafhrd. One thing I'll say about the big guy: a stereotypical northern barbarian, he is not. I was expecting him to be a little closer to Robert E. Howard's Conan the Cimmerian, the most iconic and quite possibly the most beloved character in sword and sorcery fiction. But after reading the story and collection, Fafhrd is clearly his own man. I don't see very much Conan in Fafhrd, despite that both of them eventually decide to leave the North for civilization. Fafhrd, from what I've read of him, is also not quite up to Conan's fighting standards or physical strength, which makes sense, as I read Leiber wanted to write heroes that weren't as powerful or as strong as the likes of Conan or Edgar Rice Burroughs' Tarzan. Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser are closer to your everyman characters, but they're still above average in skill from the limited reading I've done of their adventures. I also didn't expect this big 7-foot barbarian to have a higher pitched voice and to be a trained singer. He also has a bit of a weird upbringing due to his mother, Moore. She's the head of the titular Snow Women, ice witches within Fafhrd's Snow Clan. At the beginning of the story, Fafhrd saves a young actress, Vlana, who's visiting with her caravan, from being pelted by the Snow Women with snowballs. This becomes the catalyst for him being tempted by civilization, and moves the events of the novella forward, as different people within Cold Corner have their own agenda towards Vlana and Fafhrd. If you like tales set in the snowy wilderness, boy are you in for a treat with the Snow Women. The second novella is The Unholy Grail. It first appeared in the October 1962 issue of Fantastic Stories of Imagination. It was nominated for a Hugo Award in 1963. This tells of the Grey Mouser's final days acting as a sorcerer's apprentice in the South. At this time, he's not called the Grey Mouser, but Mouse. It's an interesting story focusing on the dealings between Mouse, Duke General, the local lord, Glavis Rowe, the sorcerer instructing Mouse, and Ivrian, Duke General's daughter. Mouse returns from a quest looking to deliver a mysterious green stone to his master. However, he finds Glavis Rowe's residence in charred ruins and his master dead. He immediately suspects Duke General and his men of killing Glavis Rowe, as the Duke feared wizards, and his own daughter was secretly being taught by Glavis Rowe as well. The story tells of Mouse attempting to get revenge on the Duke for his master's death. There's some really cool scenes featuring Mouse using magic, and we learn how he gets the name, the Grey Mouser. The concluding novella is Ill Met in Lankhmar. It first appeared in the April 1970 issue of the magazine of fantasy and science fiction. Remember earlier when I said that The Snow Women was withdrawn from nomination at the 1971 Hugo Awards? Well, that's because Ill Met in Lankhmar was nominated too. Not only that, but Ill Met in Lankhmar won the 1971 Hugo Award for Best Novella. But that's not all. It also won the 1971 Nebula Award for Best Novella. Ill Met in Lankhmar is a sword and sorcery classic. Ill Met in Lankhmar tells of the first time Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser joined forces. However, as we learned in the two earlier novellas, The Snow Women and the Unholy Grail, this isn't the first time the two of them met. They encountered one another earlier on in their lives, while Fafhrd went raiding with his clan, and Mouser was on his quest for the Green Stone. Ill Met in Lankhmar takes place shortly after the Snow Women and the Unholy Grail. Fafhrd and the Mouser are still youths and find themselves robbing the same group of Thieves' Guild members. During the course of the robbery, they realize they're both after the same thing, but instead of fighting each other, they help one another. After robbing the Thieves' Guild members, they meet up with their ladies, and the four of them go back to Mouser's place and basically hang out and drink. I don't want to give too much more away about this story, but both Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser find themselves going up against not only the Thieves' Guild Grand Master, Crovis, but also the Guild's warlock, Histromello, and his rodent familiars. I don't want to go into more detail than that, but I will say the scenes where the duo have to infiltrate the Thieves' Guild headquarters is some of the best fantasy writing I've read. It's that good. Leiber's in fine form in this story. I love the way he names places such as Plague Court, Atheist Avenue, Death Alley. He has a real knack for it. Be sure to check out the show notes for informative links on Fritz Leiber and his Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser series. I'll also be linking to where you can buy the audiobooks and ebooks of the series. Well, that's it for this week's episode of Pulp Crazy. Pulp Crazy is located at pulpcrazy.com. I'm at Pulp Crazy on Twitter and facebook.com/pulpcrazy. My YouTube channel is located at youtube.com/pulpcrazy. You can also email me at pulpcrazy@gmail.com. My author site is jasonscottaiken.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.